Welcome to Subramani. Now I'm going to talk to you about some queries which have come, and one of them is should I renegotiate my rent? My tenant was paying me rupees 24,000 rupees per month as rent in one of the suburbs of Mumbai, and he quit in the month of August, and now have a fresh offer from a potential tenant who is willing to pay me about 18,000 per month as rent. Should I this is a question being asked by the landlord and saying, should I say yes? What are the factors that I should consider? And the landlord does not have any EMI. His society charges are about 2,000 rupees per month, and yeah, that's it. Those are the factors. Now, should he say yes or should he say no? The question is, remember, like an employee, a landlord too has a perishing asset. The longer that he keeps his asset locked without a tenant, he is losing more. So whatever he gets is profit, because it is at least contributing to his charges. Luckily for this landlord, he's got enough money that he can afford to wait. The 2,000 rupees per month is not hurting him, so he can afford to be vacant for say 2-3 months. It won't really matter. In the meanwhile, he could get his house painted, cleaned up, whatever, to be given to the next tenant. He has done all that, and now it is worth giving away at 18,000 because of the following reasons. One, the fact that you have given it away at 18,000 does not matter, because your next client is not going to be able to use this as a basis for negotiating. He cannot come and say that, look, you would charge him 18,000, so I won't pay 23,000, because 23,000 was your pre-COVID rent. So 1 year later, when conditions come more towards normal, you might be able to push this guy out and get a new tenant at 23,000, or this client himself may be willing to pay a higher rent. So make sure about one thing: make sure that it is not a very long-term agreement. Don't sign a 3-year agreement. Sign a 1-year agreement, and in that agreement also you say, in case of renewal, there will be a 10% increase in rent. That means at least next year you will be getting close to 20,000 rupees, 19,800 to be precise, and you won't be missing out too much. In the meanwhile, if you do get somebody at 23,000, you know that you have to just bite your teeth and bide your time for 1 year. After 1 year, you will be able to replace this 18,000 client with a 23,000 rupee client. So let us see what has happened in the COVID scenario. A lot of young boys and girls who have come from say non-urban India into urban India, say they've come from Nasik or Coimbatore or Baroda or any of the places, to the Mumbais and the Gurgaons and the Chennais where they've sought jobs, are realizing that if anyway I have to work from home, I can work from Baroda or Coimbatore or Pune or wherever. I need not be in Mumbai. So these people are likely to go back. Thereby there is going to be an excess supply of property to be given out on rent, right? Also, if salaries go down, what these boys or girls who are staying 2 to a flat may suddenly start staying 3 to a flat, or even 4 to a flat, right? So when these things happen, you have to understand there is a greater pressure on the landlord to reduce rent, rather than, it is clearly, like in the real estate buying market, it is clearly a buyer's market, and in case of rent, it is clearly the tenant's market, not the landlord's market. So till the supply shrinks and till more buildings are not broken down, and till the supply comes down and more people buy their own house, and then maybe increase the demand for own houses and reduce the availability for houses being given on rent, this thing will happen. So some suburbs there will be greater pressure. So I realize that the rents are definitely going south. Now, is it possible for us to say no, rent should be at least 2% of cost or 3% of cost? That seems to be very, very difficult, simply because unlike an equity market where dividend yield can be calculated, you know at what price you are buying and you know what is the dividend yield that you will get. Rental yields are impossible to define, because India does not have a rent index. India does not have a trustworthy, dependable real estate index, and one needs real estate indices by suburbs. So you need a Ghatkopar index, a Chembur index, a Wadala index, Defense Colony index, Green Park index, and Besant Nagar index. You cannot have a Chennai index or a Mumbai index. That is too broad and completely useless from your point of view. Can somebody create these indices? Of course, somebody like HDFC can create these indices. Remember, real estate deals are all registered with the government. So the government has access to the prices at which real estate prices at which they are being transacted. So you know the real estate prices. Rents are also now being registered because the rental agreements are being registered. A copy of it is available with the registrar. So I'm sure you can create an index. Once you create an index, then you can arrive at the cost of flat index, the society charges index, and the rental index. Once you arrive at that, you will know that in a suburb like of Mumbai, you can buy a flat for 1.2 crores, give it on 1 lakh rupees per annum rent. I'm not joking. 1 lakh rupees per annum rent after your society charges of about 3,000 rupees, which means you will get some 12,000-13,000 rupees as rent, out of which 2,000-3,000 rupees you pay as society charges. So you end up getting about 9,000 rupees. 9 into 12 is about 1,08,000. That is the yield at which you are able to give out your flat. If you are happy with that, you should buy a flat and give it on rent, hoping for some capital appreciation going forward, because last 5 years it has not done anything. Real estate has not done anything for the last 5 years, and there is some indication that because it has not done anything for 5 years, it might do something over the next 7, 8, 10 years. But it is also possible that it may do nothing for 10 years, which means another 5 years you're going to just lock up your money and get some pathetic rate of return, which is less than the bank interest. So with these conditions, you have to decide whether you want to buy a house and give it on rent, or if you have a house, whether you give it on rent at a lower yield or whatever it is, hoping that going forward yields will improve. These are both very difficult conditions to understand. That means when everybody is telling you that real estate will go nowhere, could be the best time to be buying real estate. So I'm saying something and contradicting also. That is the very purpose, right? I'm forcing you to think what to do. I don't have an answer. I'm personally not a real estate investor. I'm an equity market investor. So I don't have anything at stake talking about it. But yes, the rental yields that I'm seeing are not so great, which means I don't see REITs making money in India. So REITs won't make money, and residential yields are pathetic. I'm seeing 25 to 30% fall in rents which are happening, but I'm also seeing a 25 to 30% fall which is happening in salaries which are getting renegotiated. So I think what COVID has done is it has dramatically done a mark to market of all assets. It has done a mark to market of people. It has done a mark to market of money. If your money was deployed earlier at 9%, now it is coming back to be deployed at 6% or slightly under that. And your rent yields are coming down, so all assets are getting repriced. Perhaps real estate in tier 2, tier 3 cities, or maybe tier 3 and tier 4 cities may go up because demand could go up, but I don't see rentals going up in tier 1 and tier 2 cities in a hurry. If anything, people are leaving the bigger cities and going to the smaller towns, and if I can work from Coimbatore to Mumbai, maybe I can even work from Coimbatore to New York. So maybe I start supplying my services abroad and start earning in dollars, pounds, or mark, or whatever. So all these alignments and realignments will happen. So you will have to give, I think, give the market 2 years, 3 years time to see how much of repricing is happening in all the assets. So your services, your rents, your interest, everything is going to get repriced thanks to COVID. And we do not know how much, and we do not even know what will happen when some supply completely shrinks. Suppose a few restaurants close down and then there is a demand, how will the pricing change? Nothing, but I think interesting times ahead. Start preparing for a post-COVID world. We have spoken enough about COVID. Now we have to be prepared for what happens after COVID is over. So interesting times. Keep tuned in. Thank you. Shivmar 123 has asked, instead of fixed deposit, should I go to small bank like IDFC and Equitas saving account which is giving me 7% interest? I think it is safe enough to go into small banks. You put some money there, at least maybe up to 1 lakh, and knowing that that is fully protected, you could be there and earn your 7% because there will be no TDS. And so yes, it's a good idea, but don't overdo it. Don't go and put 10 crores in a small bank or 15 crores in a small bank. Don't do something very foolish. When I say 10 crore, 15 crore, I also mean 50 lakhs if all you have is that, right? So don't do that. And for your parents' money or something, maybe you should put it into these kind of places where they will get higher interest and the whole thing will be tax free to an extent of at least 50,000 rupees. So yes, for them also it makes sense. Thank you.